Right. Well, today I am chatting with someone whose content I have followed religiously, especially recently during BravoCon, both in real time and now after she's hopefully had a little bit of time to catch up on some sleep. And as someone who hasn't had the chance to experience BravoCon just yet for myself, I'm beyond excited to hear everything about her time from the must-dos, everything behind the scenes, the moments that left her absolutely smiling from ear to ear, and what she may plan to switch up for BravoCon's return in 2027. So, without further ado, I am super happy to be chatting with one of my favorite Bravo content creators in the scene, the Bravo Investigator, Dana Regan. So, hi, Dana. It is so nice to meet you and be on here virtually to chat about all things BravoCon.
Megan, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. You're one of my favorite followers. I love chatting with you. We voice memo all the time, and you're like one of the few people I'm like immediately. As soon as I see a voice memo from you, I'm like responding immediately because I love chatting with
Oh,
you.
well, somebody who does voice memos, like I know that's my energy. So I'm glad that you see that and you're like, "Oh wait, what do I say?" So,
It's
yeah.
not my energy, so that's funny. You
Oh,
get that. Like I only do it with you.
well, I mean, I think we can even talk about some of the text exchanges and things you might have seen come after the fact with BravoCon and how, like, I'm someone who's always afraid that something I write in text will come out wrong. So that's why I'm a voice memo person. But
Makes
either way,
sense.
I think some of the things we've seen, I think either way would have come out that way. Um, but yeah, I think this time last week, you were probably just trying to catch your breath in between panels at BravoCon. So, now that you've had a minute to breathe after surviving just everything that encompasses that weekend, how are you feeling? And if you had to sum up the whole experience in one word, can you think of one?
Oh gosh. Well, can I do two words?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, so I'll say exhausting, but also memorable because like
Mm.
as a Jewish person, I just have to complain. It's just like in my DNA. And like, my feet did get pretty ripped up. And I am a woman of a certain age, right? But regardless, it was still like such a cool experience. And like, I never get FOMO about anything, but the fact that people were there even earlier, because I got there. So the event was November 14th to the 17th,
Mhm.
Friday to Sunday. A lot of people got there earlier for an event that I wasn't even invited to. But regardless, I got like FOMO, like, oh my God, everyone's already there. But then I thought about it later and I'm like, I don't know that I could have done another day, just like
That's
physically. It's
true.
very exhausting. And you want to be able to do everything, right? Or you want to try to at least, especially when it's your first experience.
Yeah.
So it was definitely very exhausting, but like I still a week later can't stop thinking about it. Like every moment of every day, I'm like, ah.
No, that's amazing. The pain was worth it. Another creator that I like, Reality by Ashley, she was posting like her step count at the end of the night, and it was a lot. So, but thank you for your service and covering a lot of ground. When I was looking at a lot of footage and just seeing everybody all over the place, I just pictured everybody like little Sims in the video game, and I imagined like,
Literally.
all of your bars were going down and the irritability was hitting. So, I also call it like somebody's social bandwidth, and I'm sure
Yes.
Jaw's tired from smiling and making like the small talk. I don't think we talk enough about how small talk can be very exhausting.
It is. And you know what? Like, I didn't really like talk about this anywhere, but like, I haven't been on a plane since 2019. I
Oh,
haven't,
yeah,
like, yeah, it's not even just COVID, it was just financially. And
right.
like, but I've really been living a COVID life for the past 5 years. Like,
Mm.
except for the job I'm in now, where I have to go to office once a week. The job I had for the 5 years prior, I was in office, or sorry, I was work from home permanently. No bra, no nothing, right? So it's a big deal. Seriously. So
Yeah.
it's a big deal to like, okay, I'm going to get on a plane and I haven't been on a plane. I'm going to be in big crowds of people and I haven't been in big crowds of people. And so
Mhm.
I tried not to like think about that too much because I didn't want to get in my head about it. And I'm
Yeah.
also like, I've lived alone always. So like, I remember being at like cottages even like millions of years ago where I had to
Mhm.
like step away, just have a moment to myself. And I remembered those moments thinking, am I going to need that? Am I going to need some space to myself just because that's what I'm used to? Like, I am a girl who needs her rest. I like to
Yeah.
rest. And I'm like, how am I going to be able to get through this? Right. And I just did. And I think the best route was just like not thinking about it too much. I know this seems silly and ridiculous, but maybe if you have a lot of anxious girlies who listen to your YouTube or watch your YouTube, I feel like or maybe this doesn't relate to a lot of people,
No,
but for
it
me, it sort of
does.
did. I was just, I was going to meet a lot of content creators who I know, right? Like I've seen them online and we've talked for 2 years, but it's like, what are we going to talk about, right? That small
Yeah.
talk. And a lot of it was just like, I don't actually know you, so you're trying to relate. But you know what? Sorry, I'm like rambling, but
Yeah.
there was a point where I got together with a friend, and then I asked my other friend, not reality by Ashley, but the reality Ashley. She's from Vancouver. She's like
Ooh,
a big
okay.
Love is
Yeah.
Blind person.
Okay.
So I know that for a fact that she's a very shy person. And so I was getting drinks with a friend, and she's like, "What are you doing now?" I'm like, "Getting drinks with a friend who's from Australia." And she's like, "Oh, cool." And I'm like, "Come with us." And I know that's not her vibe, but it's the BravoCon of it all, where we just have this all
Right.
in common that
Yes.
takes that small talk piece, I guess, maybe away from it, because we just have this thing in common. It's funny because my mom used to always say, like, if you were in a room of a bunch of Christian people and a bunch of Jewish people, who would you gravitate towards? And I'd say the Christian people, just to piss her off. And then she'd be like, but I think in her mentality, it's like you just have this inherent um connection or things in common with the people from the same group, right? So to have this love of Bravo, you just have this inherent connection with all of these people where I may have never met you, never spoken to you, but we're gonna have stuff to talk about. Do you know what I mean?
I love that. It's almost like concert culture and why you see more
Oh,
people
interesting.
going by themselves. It's everybody's there because they love that band. They're all going to be singing along. You have that commonality. So I'm sure, and I'm the same. I have to fly for a work trip in 2 weeks, and I always joke, because my supervisor is a travel agent on the side as well. And so he will walk me through everything because it's not the flight, but the airport itself and the chaos and the unpredictability of the airport that
Yeah.
stresses me out. And I didn't fly until I was like 21. Like later, just grew up. We were a, you know, drive to the beach an hour away kind of vacation family. So no,
Yeah.
I totally agree. And I resonated with you and the anxiety you felt when your selfie stick was confiscated. That would have sent me. Oh my God. Like if they had to pull me aside for anything, that's it. That's it. I have something I'm not supposed to have. Like, I don't know. And so that would have set me off. So getting there, I'm sure that already you're like just the exhaustion from traveling and just like that pent up energy. I totally get it. So, but that is so awesome that you got to see people. And I was even just having FOMO, not that I know the creators in person, but seeing the ones that I listen to linking up with each
Mhm.
other, is truly, and that was something I was going to ask you later. Like, were you starstruck or shocked by any of those experiences of seeing content creators when you got there? Because I'm sure there's some or different levels or tiers or types of people you may or may not listen to that may be there and what that experience was like.
Well, firstly, I wanted to make sure that the ones that I did talk to, I knew them by name. Like we all know their
Sure,
handles, right? But I
sure,
wanted to make sure I
sure.
recognized people's faces and names. And so I did a really good job
Yep.
with that. I'd be
Good.
like, instead of Bravo, Bravo, Bree, Bree, I'd be like Bree, or
Yes,
like
yes,
Hat instead of Worm with a mustache. And I
yes.
wanted to make sure that like because we are meeting in real life and all of that.
Sure.
I would say maybe the page six guys,
Okay.
Danny, I forget his last name, and Evan Real.
I can
Though,
picture them right
they're kind
now.
of iconic, right?
Mhm.
Like, they're page six, so that was really, really cool. Um, Ryan Bailey, I mean, I think he's amazing. I consider him like sort of a friend now, so it
Yeah.
wasn't so much starstruck, but it was just, honestly, the whole experience for me going in was like I am more excited to meet my content creator friends than the actual Bravo Lebs. And that's just sort of how I went into the weekend until maybe the last day where I'm like, oh, I should take some pictures with Bravo Lebs. But like I was just so excited to connect with the people I've been talking to for 2 years. You know what I mean?
Well, I love that because obviously we see so much of the world of content creation infiltrating on the show or many franchises, and there are very many mixed opinions. We know that a lot of the Bravo celebrities are content creators now as well, so that blurs a lot of lines. But I do feel like having that happen, at least for me as a viewer, I don't want to have that negative connotation surrounding content creators because, to be honest, I think it's the content creation that is keeping the viewership alive. And like you said earlier, people follow you for you and they want to then know what you're now watching. And I would argue that without the content creation, I don't know if the numbers would look like what they do, even just with the decline of TV. So I love that all of you together, in a sense, have this mutual not just like respect for each other, but admiration because like you guys are the reason I would argue that there is a BravoCon and that many of the questions that really took off on social media from BravoCon are coming from your accounts. And so it's great to see that you all are there truly celebrating the work that you all do. It's like I would argue a big celebration at the end of like a year, like a like a high school graduation. Like you've made it to the end, but
Yeah, no, I
that's
love seeing it that
awesome.
way. It is a celebration for
And even
sure.
just to root them on too, because I was seeing many content creators hosting panels and seeing their content creator friends posting about it and cheering them on. And
Goals,
I
yeah.
just,
Or
I
even like I
love,
had friends standing in line to get it to ask questions. I'm like, that's so cool. They end up on Peacock on TV. That's so awesome.
yes, yes. Morgan from the Morgan Pop Talks.
Killed it.
I sent her question that she asked to Leva about the party and if it was because there was more happening for her. I sent that to a friend who was like, "We knew it!" Like, so just to know that there's so many different questions or follow-ups that our creators are going there, boots on the ground to get. I'm happy that you all could give each other, your flowers, So
Yeah.
that's awesome. And with the content creators, I'm sure there are a lot of different events, opportunities, but also different tickets you can buy for BravoCon. So, if you don't mind walking through your ticket experience and really just what you think of the value between general admission or VIP. I know you mentioned a lot of add-ons, and really just what you think would be the best value for somebody going.
Sure. So I came upon tickets November 2024 on Vivid Seats. Like a couple of friends and I were coming, like we just saw this. It said there were 60 left. We know the tickets aren't on sale yet. We're
Right.
confused, but like my friends convinced me, like, no, we need to know how this happened or why it
The
happened.
off
But
chance.
yeah, we ended up buying tickets a year in advance. And I guess the way Vivid Seat works is that it'll fulfill the tickets once they go on sale. So I guess they have like third parties buying tickets and then they'll fulfill that order a year later,
Okay.
right? So I wasn't even sure until like closer to the time whether I actually had a ticket. But when the tickets do truly go on sale, like in June or whatever it is, you have minus 10 seconds to get on the computer and get it done, right? And
Right.
a lot of people weren't able to get tickets that way. A lot of people do end up having to go to Vivid Seats and StubHub and things like that. Um, my experience, so I got a GA ticket, and honestly, at the time, I think I ended up paying probably the same price as a VIP.
Okay.
That being said, I don't regret buying it that early just to ensure that I did have those tickets.
Hmm.
Um, what I noticed mostly the difference between GA and VIP would be from the content creator perspective. Like if you are going for quote unquote work, right? And you want to go to all the panels and you want to do all the things and you're there to create content for your audience, VIP. Because the panels, for example, there's like a whole section at the front where the VIP can sit. And I'm sitting in the back where I feel like I'm at a concert and I'm
Right.
taking pictures of the screen on the side, right? And so what's the difference?
True.
And then like I could be at home doing that, right? And then there was all these sections that I just didn't have like access to where the Bravo Lebs are just like hanging out, partying, and you don't have that sort of access. So if you are going for full on work, I would definitely recommend the VIP experience. I went into it, in two different ways where I'm like, I've never been before. I want to have so much fun. But a couple of like accounts tagged me as someone who was going to be at BravoCon and taking content. So then I felt compelled to do it, even though I didn't promise. So like it was a difficult balance between I want to have fun, but I also want to take content for the people. So I feel like day one, I was just sort of doing my own thing and having a lot of fun. And then the subsequent days, I'm at the panels and I'm threading and I'm trying to write things down and taking video and doing a lot more stuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's a balance, right? And that's why I think the whole concept of being invited is interesting because if I'm invited and I'm being paid by Bravo or Hey You or someone like that, then I
Right.
am working for them and I would put in all of that, right? But again, I really wanted to do both of those experiences. If you can afford it, do VIP, right? For me, it was just like I can't. And then the add-ons are like they'll be like $200 or $300. Okay. Also remember for your audience, I am Canadian, right? So everything is like a markup. So if it's a $1,500 ticket, it's 2,000 for me. Plus I'm paying for flight plus hotel, right? So this whole thing probably cost me about 5 grand and I only did one add-on. And so that's a lot of
And
money.
that's as a
So,
general admission
yeah.
fee as well.
So the
Okay.
only add-on I did was Watch What Happens Live. They had like a back-to-back. And even though it was only like $200, it ended up costing like almost $1,000. service fees and all of the other things, right? So I truly honestly believe like the panels are free, but there's all of these add-ons. Like there's this Bravo Palooza thing where I think initially the tickets were like $200 and basically allows you to go into a room where you can mix and mingle with the Bravo Labs, but you don't know who's going to be in there at any given time.
Mm.
And by the time we knew about that, the tickets were sold out and there was a few on StubHub and they were $500, right? So like I honestly truly believe if you did every add-on and everything, this could easily cost you 10 grand. And that's crazy.
Wow. And are those add-ons available for purchase beforehand, or do you have to buy them at the convention? Like, is there any way to plan ahead of time for those?
Yeah, I forget exactly when it came out, but I bought the Watch What
Okay.
Happens Live in advance, right? So I was like, okay,
Okay.
we'll do the one. And there was like the Bravos, for example, which was like the
Right.
award ceremony and things
Sure.
like that. And I was just like, I'm not going to do that one.
Yeah.
But like, because all I could think of was like, okay, yeah, I can afford to do one. And Watch What Happens Live was going to be a back to back. So it sort of felt like a two for one. So I'm
Right.
like, okay. And that was a really good one. But yeah, you still end up getting FOMO for like all of the other things that you can't afford to do.
No, I'm sure, but that is really good to know, especially just really thinking about what you're hoping to get out of it. And then once you know that
Yeah,
part of it, then you can choose what would be your best value because at least now I mean, the people wanted you to, have boots on the ground and you got to give the people what they want. And
right.
I'm sure that might make you want to kind of rethink just the entire trip in general. Whether it's, do you want to get there early, but maybe take it easy and map things out or not? I know that things we also can't really prepare for is the weather. And I'm sure, of course, you get like the one time they have like a complete storm, and that affects like transportation or not realizing that a lot of it is just like waiting in lines. Looking back, do you think that there's any way that a person can strategize or maximize that time differently? Or is it really just when the line is forming for the person you want to see most and it is what it is? Like, what do you think about that?
I think there's probably a little more planning that could be done. It was the lines were wild, right? Like you're standing
Right.
outside in a line and then you're standing inside in a line. And there was one part where when you're doing photo ops with the Bravo Labs, so this whole part was weird. There was registration that you could do well in advance, but it was broken online, so you couldn't register, or a lot of people couldn't register. So I don't know how it worked for everyone else, but on the day of, I explained, your system was broken, give me a
Right.
ticket and it gives you a +1 and I could only do one in the day. Honestly, all the rules. Like I don't live like this, right? I live my own rules. So it's just like a
Lots of
lot.
terms and conditions, it seems.
Yeah, lots of terms and
Yeah.
conditions. So my friend, I ended up being her +1. And so she gets a number 3. And I just thought that meant we could just meet anyone on stage 3. When you're in the line outside, you finally get to the line inside, which is like a whole snake and no,
Mhm.
going through there. There's like a whole line in there. I didn't realize that was just going to be for one person, which would have been Tamra, because that's the one my friend wanted to meet, and I wanted to meet Kristen. Um, so it's sort of hard to explain, but then you have these people walking around with little paddles that just say like 1, 2, 3, and they're kind of prompting you to be like, did you want to go to this person? So, which is confusing because initially my little ticket says 3, meaning I have to go
Right.
to Tamra. But then Bravo Bree, thank God for her, she was like,
Shout out.
when you see someone with a paddle, just say, yeah, I want that one, right? So that's how I
Yep.
got to meet Kristen.
Yeah.
So that's a little tip or trick, I guess. But yeah, the lines are wild just because I can't understand. It was definitely poorly organized because like when you the lines like all the way around the venue were like 3 kilometers long. And
Wow.
then, but for a period of time where they're already open. So like, why are we standing in line? And then there's only like one like gate to open when they should have had like many people like and many lines forming to just get people through faster. So yeah, a lot of that was sort of disorganized, but yeah, it was line after line after line, and it just sort of feels like I paid for things. Why am I standing in lines? But I guess it just
That's
is what it
fair.
is.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if just with how quickly the optics or opinions change about different Bravo celebrities, that it's so hard for them to predict even what lines are going to look like for some of them, especially just with whether it's a news story that drops like right before BravoCon or anything. So
Right.
I'm sure that it's tricky in that regard, but hopefully, with it coming back in 2027, that gives them some time to rework some layouts because I did see, a lot of different meet and greets with a lot of different people, but I've also seen that, there's people who filmed being in line for a very long time and maybe they missed something else. And so that can be tough when there is so much to do. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, sound and just to even like have some time to breathe. I'm like thinking like the Calm app needs to have like a sensory room or something next
Right. Or
time.
like a place to just lie down and rest. Well, I mean, your room, I guess. But like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
you make a good point. And like maybe if I wanted to make sure I got to do absolutely everything, I would maybe try to have organized it better. But like I just
It's
didn't know what
hard.
it was gonna be like. And now that I know, maybe I could organize it a
Right.
bit better. But at the same time, I don't really have like there was I had to see Kristen. Other than
Yeah.
that, I don't feel like there's something I didn't get to do where I'm like, damn it, you know?
No, that's true. And I feel like there are so many things to even like look at or see, like the merch,
Yeah.
like the State Farm
Oh, the
setup.
merch is crazy.
Yeah, so I feel like there are things that are keeping you occupied in line.
Oh, totally. You're
Um,
never bored. You're never
sure,
bored.
yeah, no, and that I love. But I also love that like the one thing you knew going in that you needed to do, you got to do. Please tell me about your Mariposa. Kristen Doty, I know you and for anyone that really wants to hear the nitty-gritty and like every step, every huge, massive, quick step that Dana had to take from point A to B a million times is worth listening to. But please, Dana, tell us about how the universe really tried to sabotage things, but how you did not let it happen.
Ugh, okay, so like Kristen is just sort of like an idol of mine. I know that may seem silly, but
Not
like,
at
you
all.
know, I don't know if you ever got a chance, and I'm not judging if you haven't, to listen to my Be True Hollywood Story episode on her, but like she's someone that I've done a lot of research on and I know a lot about in
Mhm.
like a very deep way. And I think you also know that I've done a lot of work with sexual abuse victims and other kinds of trauma victims. And
Mhm.
you know, Kristen was definitely a part of a story involving James Kennedy that I was very integrally involved in trying to get the word out there on. So I feel like I have like this deeper relationship with her that she's not even aware of, just because I was working so hard behind the scenes to try to get people to listen and to listen to women's voices and things like that. And she without really maybe even knowing it, was so integrally involved in that. And I just have a lot of respect for her for like, you look at the way she was sort of treated over time by like different people, by Bravo. I mean, being demoted, people really just treating her like dirt under their shoe. And I just find it fascinating and impressive that she was able to go from like someone people really despise to like arguably one of the most popular reality stars of our time. And so I just had to tell her that I had to do it. It was just really important to me. So yeah, it was sort of part of this whole thing where I was saying with the ticket, and then I was trying to run back to the hotel to like pack up my stuff in between these photo ops, got stuck out of my room, was running back and forth, bleeding from the heels, and then like literally I ended up getting to the photo op with Kristen at 2:59 and it ended at 3. And the security guard was like not even like really allowing me to do my whole speech, but like Kristen did. It's just such a fascinating experience when you walk up to them and I'm like, I'm the Bravo investigator. She's like, yes,
I
like
love
that's so
that.
cool. And that's something I
Yeah.
wanted to mention about what you were saying before about like the fans making BravoCon. I've always considered this like a symbiotic relationship. They exist for us and us
Mhm.
for them. It's different than like Lifetime or other shows like that. There's maybe two or three Married at First Sight accounts, right? And it's not the same sort of interactive thing like it is with the Bravo Loves. I know that I could tag Ryan Boyajian in something and then we'll have a full-on conversation and that's
Mhm.
normal, right?
Mhm.
And so for her to know who I am, very cool, but also sort of normal. And she let me hold her hands, which was really important to me because I had this whole
Yeah.
speech I wanted to do, and she let me do it while holding her hands, which is
Yeah.
how I wanted to do it. And I just said like, I see a lot of myself in you when I was young, and you were dicked around by Bravo, you were dicked around by a lot of your friends, and it's inspirational to see you persevere through all of that and look at where you are now and like you're fucking killing it. And she just looked at me in this way that just like it made me feel seen and heard. And it was just, and even Jesse McBee, who was there from McBee Dynasty, because you're not taking a picture with one, you're taking a picture with both. He's
Mhm.
like, I'm really glad you got to have your moment with Kristen. And I love McBee Dynasty. And I'm like,
Yes.
I love you, Jesse. I thank you for letting me have that moment, right? And the security guard just being like,
Sure.
hurry up. I'm like, shut up.
You don't
Hold hands with
understand.
Mariposa, right? So it was just, and then can I admit, like I cried laughter. Just listen,
Oh,
I don't fangirl about any of these people because I sort of feel like I'm in the business now, right? But like that was just my one. And I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm allowed to fangirl a little bit.
as you should know, and I loved the pictures of you holding her hand, speaking to her. Like you really can see
I
beyond
love that
the
they
surface
captured that. They
level.
have someone taking all those pictures for you.
Yes, yes, I can tell that it meant so much to both you and her too, because she absolutely is somebody who is back on the network that did once wrong her, but in so many ways. But I like to think that she really has a say or a voice, it seems now. I also think that she thankfully played a really big role in dismantling what I think a lot of networks fell into with that profit over protection or protecting the wrong people. Um, and her resilience is truly amazing.
Inspirational. Yeah.
And I'm so happy you got to see her. I hope you're wearing Kristen Doty green today to commemorate the moment. I'm like
I'm
that
not, but
that
yes.
shade of green. Yes, I'm like
I wish so they
I
had her dress there at BravoCon, right? The green dress.
oh, a
And I wish
relic.
they would let you put it on because I just wanted to put it on and like pull out a nipple and just have like a comment that says
Please.
like, Kristen, your nipple's popping.
I love it. I love it. And how you did the cherry recreation of Todd and Brown. Like there are
So
just
I
so
just met that
many
guy that
moments.
minute. The guy I did that with, I just met him.
But that I think
I'm like,
that
we
goes
have to
to
do this.
show I think that goes to show just what this community is
And
like
he
and
knows what I
how
meant, right? I just meet you
yeah,
and you know exactly what scene I'm talking about that we need to recreate, which is
yeah.
the point where like I don't even know you, but we can do this together.
Listen, you have guys that will sit at Buffalo Wild Wings for 10 plus hours creating a fantasy scenario of their favorite men on the field for fantasy football. So anytime somebody says like Bravo is weird or why do you get into it? I'm like, you have TV playing football every day, all day, and that's still not enough that you have to go and make your own team. And
Lame.
my infatuation is too much. But so I no, I completely agree. Well, I'm so happy the stars got to align for that and that you got to share that with her because these truly are people who I would argue are attainable in some sense, but attainable to us instead of like an A-list celebrity, but in a way that we can almost connect or feel relatable or like we do know them. It's like I think
Yeah.
I too would probably be a bit more starstruck seeing certain Bravo celebrities maybe than seeing Beyonce. Like I know that's crazy if people are like, what?
No, but
But
you have more of a relationship with these people than you do with Beyonce.
and
Has
I
Beyonce
almost
ever
look at
answered one of your DMs? No.
right, and it's like I
But
almost look at
Craig would.
them as like a whole institution or like a state of being, you know? And so
Mhm.
whereas these Bravo celebrities really, you also see so many of them really going through it and you know it's happening in real time and it's something to really connect with. I also know that some people might question if the things that we see between different Bravo celebrities are real or and genuine or not. I'm somebody that likes to believe that the reunion you got to witness between the Giudice and Gorga family, I want to believe it's for the greater good for all of them and genuine. I know you also mentioned seeing, Karen Huger's standing ovation, Vicky getting her orange. Was there anything that you could really feel like the emotion and energy that it was such a genuine moment versus maybe it was something that fans just didn't really connect with as much? Like, could you notice that energy shift at all with some announcements?
Um, Great question. I think I'd say the Vicky moment was pretty big, even
Okay.
though to me that just seemed like an obvious thing that they were gonna do. Maybe I'm too deep into it. I'm just like, of course they're gonna give her an orange for 20. But to a lot of people who are like A1 day one people, and I was actually just side note surprised because like there are fans there which are separate from like us as
Mhm.
content creators, and the fans were fanning. Like they make a lot of noise, they ask a lot of weird questions like, Andy, how big's your dick? And it's like, ooh, right? So the fans are doing their own fan thing, right? So like there are these people who have existed for 20 plus years watching OC since then, since when we were children,
Yeah.
of course, because we're so young. And, they they have like this different passion for it, I guess, this like
True.
long-standing sort of passion. And so for them, this is really important. Now, I think you're a long time listener of my show, so you know that I'm not an A1 day one OC person. So like it didn't mean that much to me, but that seemed like a really like important
Mhm.
moment for the Bravo community.
Oh, for sure. And I agree. I think I forget that there are people that don't tweet every thought around the clock about Housewives or Bravo. So perhaps all of their feelings are pent up and they are airing their grievances on the mic. And I forget about that and that there is a whole different group of people going to Bravo for other reasons, which
Yeah.
actually had me thinking because I would tune in on Peacock live and I Morgan's question, that one was one that I was like, oh whoa, like I've seen her face before. And I think her name is slipping me right now, but the friend you have from Australia.
Yana Firestone.
Is she also a therapist, I believe?
Mhm.
Okay, yes, yes, yes. So I've listened to her, I think with you and maybe like Ryan Bailey before. So seeing
Yes,
some of them
yes,
being
exactly.
able,
Yes, that's how I know her.
I'm like playing it in the background and I'm like, wait, I've heard that voice before. And then I see them. But my question is because I know that it just seemed like the panels were either shorter or longer and then opened up more or less time for Q&A. Were they choosing people from the crowd, or would you just line up to be in the question line? And if so, were people having to line up like hours in advance to like guarantee asking a question? What was that like?
Pretty much. Yeah. So they're not picking people. People are lining up and they're lined up for the entire panel, which is wild to me because, again,
Wow.
our feet hurt.
Yes.
So, like, it
Okay.
was not worth it to me to stand in that line. And they weren't screening questions either. That's why I was just like, why are
That's
people asking
shocking.
about penises? So, yeah, it was just a lot of that. There were, I think it was only Salt Lake City where they did screen it because they didn't want questions about this season. And then
Fair.
Meredith showed up randomly in line. Like all of a sudden you hear her being like, Brooke, oh, no, no, wait, that was for Next
For
Gen
next
NYC.
gen,
She's
that
like,
was cute.
I want to know why Brooks thinks he can't get along with his mother at work. And you're like, what's
Oh
going
my
on?
goodness. I love it. I didn't know
But
that
no,
they
yeah,
had a
that was wild.
stand.
I couldn't believe they weren't screening questions because I'm sure you know that Watch What Happens Live
Sure.
does. You
Yes.
are not asking those questions for real. They are giving you that question.
Sure. Yeah. Yes. That's shocking. And thinking of add-ons, I'm like, I'm surprised that that's not an add-on for somebody to buy, and also a way for them to screen
Smart.
questions. Yeah, yeah.
Don't give them
Because
any more ideas for, for
yeah,
trying to take
yeah.
our
I
money.
mean, yeah. Actually, there should be like they should be able to do like what Spotify does, where they and Capital One. There's some artists where they can have like an early release of concert tickets for their listeners. I'm like,
Yeah,
can I show you guys how many hours of Peacock I watch, and can I get into like an early access?
right.
Yeah, so that's actually really interesting to know. I'm glad to know that little tidbit because I think it would be super cool to ask a question, but also a little terrifying and also exhausting knowing I'm standing all day. So,
Yeah.
wow. Well, I know that this has been just truly a wild trip from, A to Z, good, bad, shocking, also things that like you were expecting. But something that I'm trying to do just as I talk more about Bravo, whether it's just into the void or with somebody else's, I like to give out like a smile award if I'm recapping an episode or what person or moment, made me smile in that scene. Like just to give you some context, like it could be so random. It could be like a person on the show. I gave one to Kiarna's mom, one episode where she was trying to talk some sense into her on Potomac. But then I also gave it to the cactus that Brittany was stroking, trying to make sense of her mother-daughter relationship. And your interview with Olivia, by the way, I'm very impressive and just I'm so happy you
Thank
got to
you.
chat with her. But if you had to give BravoCon, whether it's a person or an experience, a smile award that just left you beaming, what would you say would be yours? And it could probably be something we maybe already touched on. I know the Kristen
Yeah.
moment was major, but
I know. I want to try to think of something separate though. Let me see. Let me see. I guess honestly, just can I just say, yeah, like meeting the content creators, it just made me
yeah,
smile. Like
like
every
a
time I like
meetup.
go back to thinking, like especially the ones that I've been waiting so long to meet, and just
Mhm.
oh, and also I think I went into it for some reason because I'm always just like negative. I went into it thinking a lot more people didn't know who I was than did, and just even from the content creator perspective, like I really just thought they
Mhm.
didn't know who I was, but a lot more people knew who I was than I thought, right? I'm introducing myself. I'm like, I'm dating, and they're like, we know, right? So that made me smile.
Oh, I love that. Yes, yes. You, you know, imposter syndrome who, you know? So
Right?
that, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. I love that and it's making me really excited. I'm literally setting aside like a BravoCon fund now and we'll have to start saving and we'll see.
Literally today or
Truly,
2 years from now.
yes, yes. So looking ahead to BravoCon 2027, what would you say would be like your biggest takeaways from this year's experience, especially, if the structure does remain the same, what are some things you would repeat or maybe go into differently knowing what you know now about your experience?
I want to see if there's a possibility to get a scooter that folds up that you could put in your luggage because there was way too much walking and way too much trying to get around. Um,
That's smart.
there was that. Yeah, I mean, like, there's only so much you can control because, like, I love to be in control of things to the best of my ability, but there's only so much. Um, and then biggest takeaways, I'd say also put yourself out there because, you know, even if you can't afford to do the VIP experience, or even if you do, you still didn't get to meet who you wanted to meet. By the end of it, I was at the next gen panel. I was sitting there. I'm like, I don't feel like I got to meet enough Bravo Labs. I feel like I didn't get to do enough. And I sent a DM to Lacey, Jesse Lally's girlfriend, who we have like a really beautiful connection online. She's someone that I just really felt that I could resonate with because I don't know if you know her story, but she was
I
kidnapped
do
in her early
now.
20s.
Yes.
Yeah. And so she's a trauma victim. And, that's not my story, but like I've worked with sexual abuse victims, which isn't her story. But regardless, like the whole concept of like women and trauma and
Mhm.
PTSD and that kind of thing is obviously something I really resonate with. And I knew that I would just really vibe with her. So we've been chatting online and she's really cute. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to send her a message and see if she's free. I'm like, can I meet you? Are you free? She's like, yeah, come to the room next door. And so I came and so I got to hang out with her and Jesse for like half an hour and they totally treated us like equals. It was so much fun. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention is they all had handlers, which were like a person that was basically hanging around them to make sure they weren't like getting lost. Like basically someone that was making sure they were getting from place A to place B, which I guess makes sense
Mhm.
because like they could go off and do whatever, right? Go get drunk, go whatever. And so
Night
it's really to
shift.
make sure that like someone is
Yeah.
watching them and making sure. But
Yeah.
there was this one funny experience where I was the one who broke the news about Aaron and Michelle breaking up. I rarely break
Yeah.
any news, but I broke that news.
I
So
remember that.
Jesse said to me that it was such a funny experience that he called Zach and was like, he was telling me this. He's like, Zach, the Bravo investigator, said that Aaron and Michelle. So the fact that you're like a part of like their story in this way is so cool. And just to be treated like equals like that. And then I told Lacey my story. She told me more about her story. She gave us a lot of tea about season three. And it was nice to be able to like mix and mingle in that way. Sorry, I forget even what like your question was, but sorry, to try
Yeah.
to put yourself out there more and to try
Yeah.
to make your experiences happen the way you want them to happen, right? I believe that in all aspects of life. Like you can't just sit around and be like, how come I'm not winning the lottery? Well, are you playing the lottery, right? And so if you want something to
Yeah.
happen in life, you have to make it happen. So like I walked straight up to people and I was like, hello, ship, nice to meet you. I had no shame in my game. And I was just like, I'm just gonna get the experience that I'm here to get.
Yes.
So
I
yeah,
love.
if you're going to spend the money, do the experience to the best
Yes.
of your ability.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And yes, your story of getting to go and hang out with them and learn more, it you really get to see who the person is probably at BravoCon. Like you might only get 7 minutes of footage of them an episode, depending on what
Great
it's
point.
about. And
Right.
and you also get what they choose on the cutting room floor. And I'm super happy because overall, just with a lot of the content creation I've seen and the stories you've shared, it sounds like there weren't really any like don't meet your heroes moments for people. Like meeting the Bravolebrities was either what they expected them to be like or better. And that shows me that the future of this network and just the shows I have hope for because I think this weekend was probably just as much of a reminder for the viewers and why they love the shows as it is for them on why they put their lives on display for all of us. And so
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, and I'm just so excited that you got your key moments with people you wanted to see, but also like surprising ones you weren't expecting. And that's something that I'll just have to also go in and prepare for. when I go in 2027 and
Yeah, girl.
I see you on the other side of the rope with the mic. So I'll wave from the crowd.
Holy
Yeah,
crap,
oh my gosh. No, I love it. But
underneath the rope, come on.
I love it because I mean, hey, we have content creators have a sto just as much of a story and like why they do what they do. And I thank you again so much for, taking the time to chat with me. And like again, I feel like I just from listening to you for so long, I already feel like I do know so much about you. But even like getting the chance to like talk to you more about the experience and what you got out of it, um I truly am just thankful that you got to share it. And for those who want to keep listening, can you just kind of remind them the best places to listen to you when it's best to, look for new episodes and what's coming up?
Sure. So you can download the Bravo Investigator podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, iHeart. New episodes every Monday, Saturday, but usually something else during the week as well. Also have the Patreon at patreon.com/, the Bravo Investigator podcast. You can also follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator.
Alrighty. Well, thank you again, Dana. And I know more is already coming out beyond BravoCon, so you think that you could catch a break, but I mean, I'm
Right.
sure the storylines from BravoCon are just starting. So I know you have a busy weekend, but I just want to thank you so much. And I will check out, or see what's up on your socials and what you're covering next. And thank you again for making me smile today. This was an honor. So thank you. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much for having me, Megan.